welcome back to this special women's health episode of Grow Conversations. We have Lydia with me here, who is a medical cannabis patient. Lydia, maybe you can tell us a little bit about yourself and if you're happy to, a little bit about your health conditions, why you use medical cannabis.
Okay, so I'm Lydia. I am a medical cannabis patient. I have a number of medical conditions. I have chronic kidney disease, associated high blood pressure, fibromyalgia, hypermobile Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. I've also been diagnosed with a bit of osteoarthritis and a bit of COPD as well, just to add into the equation. I've been a medical cannabis patient now since 2023, having been a black market user before. And it just felt like the natural progression to move over to medical cannabis. Those back in 23. There was a few people that I knew that were patients back then, but there wasn't as many. I do definitely think it's gone up in the last 2 to 3 years. And now everyone I know is now a medical patient, pretty much. Yeah.
Fantastic. And what sort of spurred you to make that change in 2023?
I think just because the knowing that it was available to people became more sort of prominent.
Yeah.
I'd probably say it was the legend himself, Big Nasty, and his promotion that got it to my attention, and that's how I went through the referral route. I went through Big Nasty and then ended up with Integro. That's the clinic that I'm currently with. Okay. And it kind of came about probably, unfortunately, losing my father to lung cancer. I wanted to take more of control over my health. Sure. I was kind of on antidepressants. I was on painkillers and I was using them a lot. And I just didn't feel like they were helping in any way. They were just masking symptoms. So I moved over to medical cannabis, and that then spurred me on to then stop combustion and to stop tobacco. So now I'm tobacco free for the last year to 18 months.
Oh, congratulations. That's worth saying, because it's not easy as well.
It was difficult, but then I think it was also the right time, because it wasn't as difficult as what I thought.
Sure.
In all fairness, it was my partner went away for work and I couldn't be bothered to go to the shop to buy any more tobacco.
I'll do it.
I hadn't had any in 4 days and went, well, I won't be having any more.
Wow.
And then moved over to this dry herb vaporizing now. Brilliant. And it's changed things so significantly for me with my relationship with cannabis as well. Mm-hmm. Before, when I kind of maybe identified as a stoner, I had a very different relationship with cannabis, especially when using it with tobacco. It felt like I needed it, and I needed it as soon as I woke up. I'd had to have a joint. As soon as I got in from anywhere, I had to have a joint. Now it's not as an habitual habit as it was before. It's now more, I kind of say, more mindfully medicating, which is the phrase that I use. A lot of people go, what's that about? But that's kind of, because I know, I'm mindfully going, right, I'm choosing this strain at this percentage at this time of the day for this effect, for this symptom. It's probably dropped my usage down to about a quarter of what it was, because compared to how much you use in a joint compared to a little
burns away,
and even the benefits, you lose most of the positive benefits from cannabis if you smoke it, because you're burning it away. So just even the effect is just so cleaner.
I find it's less impairing, and it's actually better at managing symptoms, which you might think is sort of that doesn't make sense. But
that's it. It seems to. I think it lasts longer as well. Mm-hmm. I know before, probably when I was smoking joints, I was craving the tobacco more than actually the cannabis.
Absolutely.
So obviously now that relationship has ended, it's not like a craving. It's like I'm going to go and medicate now. I'm going to go and have some medicine now. And sometimes, I can go 4 or 5 hours. Whereas before, when I was a smoker, I'd get all antsy after about an hour or two of not being able to consume. So it's made a huge benefit to my life.
Sure. And can we talk about the difference to the other medications that you said antidepressants and painkillers?
So I was using a lot of cocodamol. I was on amitriptyline as well, and that about 6 months ago got increased because I wasn't finding any effect from that. And now, thankfully, I'm not on them now because I decided to make the conscious decision to come off of them. Just because I didn't really want to be using them if I felt I didn't have to, because they were being more used because I wasn't depressed. They were used to manage pain.
Sure.
And I'm there going, but why am I taking something that's an antidepressant to help me manage pain when the pain's there for a reason? I have conditions. So I should be feeling this pain, but it's a normal...
You need to address the pain, really.
You need to address the pain rather than just going, oh, well, maybe you're sad. Let's put you on this and that might get rid of the pain. But I found that it didn't. I also... I heavily believe in all plant medicine. So I have used psilocybin in the past, microdoses as well. So I came off them. I came off the amitriptyline to then hopefully go back on to possibly microdosing in the future as well, because you shouldn't really be on them when you
do it at the same time. Yeah. Oh, fascinating. And what does it enable to do? What does it enable you to do in your day-to-day life that you couldn't do without cannabis?
I would say it definitely helps me focus. So whilst I do have a lot of physical symptoms, I find that the cannabis helps reduce those symptoms so that I then can focus and continue to be in work. That's my main thing at the moment, is trying to stay in work. Luckily, I work from home full time, so I can medicate as and when I need. Maybe if I was working in the office on a regular, I might not feel as comfortable medicating as I need to, because as we know, there is still stigma involved with cannabis use. It's kind of made everything so much easier to manage. When I think before, when I was the habitual stoner, as I call it, I was actually just masking a lot of the symptoms with just being stoned. I wasn't actually treating them. Whereas with the medical cannabis, I actually feel like I'm treating those symptoms now. Yeah.
And it's interesting what you say about, your focus and you're able to work. And I think for me, it's almost like getting people to understand that my condition is actually what's causing the impairment.
Yes.
That's what's preventing me from being able to sit down and write emails and do whatever I need to do for work. And that the cannabis is actually meaning that I can be more focused and get on with things. And actually, I think people don't necessarily understand that.
Yeah, definitely. And I also find through years of use, certain strains, certain like hazes. Hazes is my concentration strain.
Yeah.
If I have a haze in the morning, next thing I know, it's 4 hours later and I've botched out 20 spreadsheets and all the work that I've got to do.
Haze for spreadsheets, I'm going to make a note.
Yeah.
Good to know.
I have found though, it's very women focused haze. Actually, I found a lot of women seem to like haze strains more than men.
Interesting.
And I don't know why it seems to be for women. Maybe it's just more of a cerebral effect.
I was going to use that exact word, actually. I think men are looking for that body.
We have a lot going on in our heads, unfortunately.
Relaxation,
We are usually, the organisers, the planners of everything of our household. So maybe it's the cerebral effects of the haze that actually seems to attract it more for women.
Maybe.
That's just my
your
theory.
Experience. No, I think that's a fair point. I think I've heard the same thing from men, that they're not particularly keen on hazes. I think sometimes brings on anxiety when other strains or other
we're just riddled with anxiety anyway.
Yeah, like just pile it on at this point, come back the other end. How long did it take you to find the medications that you're on? And just before we do carry on, I should say we're going to have to bleep if you name product names. In terms of the types of flower, oils versus flower. Did you try any other formulations, or have you always been with flower? I mean,
So I've always used flower.
Yep.
Unfortunately, I haven't used any of the oils. I find that the price is unfortunately what does put me off the oils. I would like to try them. I am considering maybe dropping my flower allowance slightly, so then put in oil at night time, mainly to help me sleep, because that's it's the staying asleep that I have problems with. So that's why I'm thinking of going for oil. But no, I've only tried the flower, unfortunately. I haven't tried everything else. I have tried a friend's vape cut. No, you're not meant to say that.
So these things are expensive, and if someone stood there with it in their hand,
she literally just went, try that. I got that
we're
from
not
my
condoning
clinic
it, but
today.
I'm aware it happens. I mean, if it's just to see what that experience is like of having them, okay, well, we can see whether that's worth investing 60, 70 more pounds in. It's not cheap, is it? I do appreciate that. Certainly, so it sounds like you're still on that road then in terms of finding necessarily the best medication for you. And I guess there's some experimentation with different strains. Do you have again, without naming them necessarily, do you have ones that you have every script, or do you have change it every time? How does that work?
I did. And then when I changed vaporizers, it actually changed flavour of the strain that I was buying quite regularly.
Can I just ask what the vaporizer change was? We can talk about those.
It was from a PAX 2 to a Stores and Bickle Mighty.
Okay, that's a bit of an upgrade.
Yes.
No disrespect to PAX, great devices.
No, but it's completely different devices in a way. And I just found the flavour profile was so different in the Mighty, it made me not buy that strain anymore.
Sure, it was unpleasant.
So the only thing with the strains is that I think you find one that you like, and then you try and get it again a month later, it's non-stop.
Yes, the inconsistency on stock.
There is
small batches, and
I do sometimes treat it a bit like picking a horse.
Sure.
And go by the name.
Yeah.
That's the only way I can say it, is the name.
Is your clinic helpful at all in sort of try this or what about this?
So
they leave you to it.
In the consultation, they do sort of say that we have got this in at the moment, we have got that.
Yeah.
But they know that I usually know what I'm going for.
Sure.
I do sometimes take the time to kind of research the strains and their lineage.
Yeah.
I did used to look at whether things were indica or sativa, but now as I'm learning, that's not really a good marker of a decent
it's not a strict science
strain. There's no sort of strict science to it, really.
No, I'd agree. More about the terpenes and what's in it, and also I think the brand. I think getting to know the
price is a thing as well.
Price is definitely a factor.
It's quite. So my other half is with he's with a different clinic.
Yep.
So it's quite interesting seeing the availability of strains he has to the strains that I have.
What's the difference? But again, without naming the specific strains, is it he has more variety, you have more variety, he has
his
more
stuff
expensive?
Seems to be more terpy.
Okay.
And smells like more black market Cali-esque. Whereas I tend to find mine smell more like our medical cannabis smells.
Sure, just a little bit muted, I think, is the common description.
That's the way of kind of putting it across.
Some people really appreciate that. I talk to so many patients who are like, actually, I'm so happy I don't stink out the place all the time.
Yeah.
And it still does what they needed to do.
My other half, he's found that what works for him are any strains that seem to have fruit in the title.
Okay.
They seem to work for him. And they seem to be the ones that come through with the terpenes.
Yes.
So he's definitely like a terp chaser, as they call it. Whereas for me, I literally buy, I have 5 different strains. I get 5 different ones each month. Yeah. And that's it. I think I work better on differing strains. Yep. I tend to get a kind of full spectrum of THC percentage, so I get like lighter ones for early on in the day, and then heavier ones for later on at night. Yeah, that's kind of how I tailor it at the moment.
I do exactly the same thing. I have 5 strains as well.
Yeah,
there you go. Actually, never talked about my medication on this podcast before. There we go. or the amounts and things like that. But no, I think it's and for me, it's about. I have 5 because I'm using them for sort of 5 different what I call like use cases. So I have my morning strain, which is almost like a coffee. If I have it alongside coffee more often than not. I have like a working strain that is probably very low in THC, maybe a balanced, keep me focused. I have one that's going to help me relax in the evening. I have one that's going to help me sleep. And I maybe have another one for what I'd call play, which is that, I want it to sort of be, enable me to be creative and engaged in what I'm doing. But it might be more potent than something I'm using for work. Yeah. I think that's really important that we bring it back to use cases. And when I say play, I'm not talking about I'm using this strain for recreational purposes. I'm saying, and I guess I hear this from parents. I'm not a parent, but I hear from parents that there are certain products that they have, and they be a better parent. They're more engaged in playing with their children. They're the stress of the day is in the back of their mind. Their symptoms are managed, and they can give proper attention to their child. And I'd say it's the same thing. I'm not playing with the child, but whatever I'm doing on an evening, I find that particularly helpful.
Yeah, definitely. Sometimes I think, especially like exercise, you can't have strong of a strain for exercise because you won't get round to the exercise.
Absolutely that. And also it increases heart rate, so you can put too much strain on your heart if you use lots of THC and go
I know
exercise.
A few people that have gone exercising after some of their gummies from the medical, and I don't know how they did that.
Small doses, I'm sure.
Yes, they are.
Let's talk a little bit about the stigma and the discrimination. Do you find that something? I mean, we talked a little bit before we started about your work, and you're saying at this point you work for a local government. You've not told your employer about your cannabis prescription. I don't think you're not legally required to, from the sounds of things from your job. But also you work, in a sense, with disabled people in terms of their rights and equalities. So you're saying you're sort of waiting for somebody to come through the system who has a prescription for you to be able to harness this extra knowledge.
I chair the Staff Disability Network as well for the organisation.
Amazing.
And I am poised and ready and waiting for the first discriminatory comment or something that will just get brought up if there is another cannabis patient within the organisation. I do find unfortunately sometimes the stigma is societal. That's the word I'm looking for. So if I'm out using my vape, I don't think anybody notices. Most people are in their own world. It doesn't smell like a joint wood or combustion, so people don't really pay much attention. But what I find is, and on a one-to-one basis, so where I'm a natural medicine artist, I do craft shows and things like that. And I always find that one-on-one, people are really open and really receptive to it. They're like, oh yeah, my gran would use it, my aunt, so-and-so. But then I reckon if you then spoke to all those people in a pub on a Friday night with the crowd of similar people around them, you would probably get a bit of a different response or a bit of a different answer. And I work with lots of social workers, social work managers, and they have a very siloed thought process when it comes to cannabis as well. Even where I bet most of them probably don't even know that it's available medically.
They're probably seeing their experience with cannabis is probably 100% people using it in ways that are potentially problematic, and people who are struggling with other things in their life who also use cannabis, and the conflation of those things. Right?
So unfortunately, we work with mental health clients, and obviously some of those people have been sectioned and have had quite severe mental health problems. So I do understand their cause for concern over it, because nothing is 100% safe.
Nope.
For me, alcohol is just as damaging, can cause just as much mental health problems, if not more. Yet, every morning, 10 a.m. Saturday, you've got a bunch of affluent middle-class people drinking wine and rating it like it's okay at 10 o'clock in the morning. That's
addictive behaviour right there.
That's the thing. Most people go, you're smoking a joint at 10 a.m, you bad stoner, but they're drinking wine at 10 a.m. That's okay. That's where I feel as society we've got it wrong.
Flip those a bit.
Yes, I think the fact that that's the acceptable poison needs to be changed. The narrative just needs to change. And I think as a country, we need to start looking at drugs from a public health perspective and not criminal perspective.
100%.
That's how I feel. And that's why I do my artwork as well, because I've always done sort of natural medicine, so cannabis, mushrooms. And that's my artwork, to just try and show people an alternative. It's not just always about pharmaceuticals, and to show people that various different people use cannabis. There seems to be a stigma where they think, it's just the brickie down the road that has a joint with his mates, when it's not. There's the amount of differing people I've met through my work with cannabis over the years has been, all those people are valid people, and people just need to stop assuming and judging
Yeah, 100%. 100%. I think judgment has been a theme of these conversations that we've had. Where can those who are watching find your artwork if they want to have a look?
Instagram. I am known as Mershmaid Illustrations. I'm just on Instagram.
Okay, we'll put a link in there.
Yeah, it's on the Women's Circle page on the Plantz website.
Brilliant, fantastic. Before we finish off, I want to ask you. We've talked about so many different angles in terms of your cannabis and your work and your life. But as a woman who consumes cannabis, as a patient, as someone who works in it, what would you like to say to our audience about women's health, about cannabis use in women's health, or about being a woman in this space?
Okay, let me figure what I was going to say.
Put you on the spot a bit.
You have a little bit.
What do you wish that other women understood about cannabis to make it simpler for you?
There's treatment out there for everyone. There is some form of treatment out there that could help every female. We're often overlooked, especially in the doctor's room,
100%.
unfortunately. And I just think, and that's what I said in the other podcast, fight for your treatment. If you feel that your GP is not listening to you, approach one of the cannabis clinics, speak to them. Even if you have no experience of it, speak to those clinicians, because they are trained. They know what they're doing. They know what they're talking about and how to apply cannabis within a medical setting. I just push for it. Push for your treatment. Don't accept no if you feel that you need it.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for sitting down with us and sharing with us, Lydia.
You're welcome.
Been a fantastic conversation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Cheers. Thanks, guys. Hello and welcome back to Grow Conversations Women's Health Special. We've had some fascinating conversations with some incredible women working in the medical cannabis industry. Our final conversation here is with Joséphine McFarlane. Joséphine is the marketing manager at Grow Group UK, working alongside myself. And you also do marketing for and support on marketing for a number of clinics, but particularly Auravia Medical, who are here sponsoring this event here today, this women's health event.
Thanks for having me, Alex.
No problem at all. How do you feel it's went with the whole day so far?
I think it's been brilliant. There's been lots of people walking around, lots of interesting conversations about the different medicines they're using, vaporizers, conditions, personal things, and it's been a very very amazing place to be. Lots of cannabis, lots of amazing powerful women, and lots of a beautiful house as well. It's
been beautiful, hasn't it? Yeah, they've so we're in South London. It's a house that I think they rent out for use in movie and TV. So it's an incredible place just to walk around. There's about 25 women here, as well as myself and a few others supporting and filming. And everyone's downstairs at the moment comparing vaporizers and looking at each other's prescriptions and just having having a good time, frankly.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about Auravia and the clinic itself. Again, sponsoring this day today, and we really appreciate them doing that and setting this all up for us. Tell us a bit about Auravia.
Yeah, of course. So Auravia Medical is a new clinic that specializes in helping people that have never had a cannabis prescription before. They also offer discounts for people on NHS wait lists, and they also get priority booking of consultations. We also offered the GAP scheme, which is the Grow Access Project, which improves accessibility of medicines for those on benefits, UK veterans, students over 18, and blue light card holders. Auravia issues cannabis prescriptions for people with chronic conditions. It might be mental health, chronic pain, a whole host of different conditions. And our doctors have over 75 years of experience combined.
Wow. So lots of, very experienced doctors working at the clinic. Some who've been working in other cannabis clinics, some who still work with other cannabis clinics, but also some doctors who are new to the space as well. But let's talk a little bit about you and your career in this space. So you've been with Grow for how long now?
Nearly 4 years.
Wow, nearly 4 years.
3 years and 8 months.
Honestly, it doesn't feel like yesterday when you joined the company, and it's been it feels like it's been a long time, but it also feels like yesterday.
Yeah, it's been a very long time. There's lots of different projects to work on, and I got into the industry because I started out using CBD oil for anxiety, and then I worked for a CBD company in my placement year at uni. And because I went to this diversity mentoring program, and I told them I want to work in cannabis. I want to work in cannabis marketing, because I just saw like the American weed tubers on YouTube and all of this insane industry. So I just decided that it's something I'm passionate about, using it for different health conditions. And I wanted to go into marketing, something that I believed in, and not just some like flogging things that people don't need, but to do something that's got some problem solving and helps people. But yeah, and then I was headhunted by Grow in my final year of uni. So then I worked for them, I think 2 weeks after I graduated.
I mean, that's what a
I had a two week gap, but yeah, I spent lots of weeks calling Ben and Pierre, and lots of different people in Grow.
Just and I'll be like, give me a job.
Yeah. Well, at first, it kind of went cold and Grow stopped hiring, but then I kept emailing them. I was like, you need to hire me. I was like, I looked at all the other cannabis companies currently, and I want to work for you. So please hire me. So I'm glad that I did, because it's been a fun time. Very, very rewarding place to work.
Why was it particularly Grow that you wanted to work for? I actually didn't know that.
I had a look at some of the other big companies, and a lot of them were from overseas that had come here, and the UK one was kind of the smaller operation, whereas Grow is a British business, and that's kind of our main. Yeah. Although we're in
Germany,
Australia and Germany.
But the business was started in the UK. Its core offices are in the UK. And I suppose the biggest part of the business is the UK business. A big part of what we do, and developing and growing the market here. Yeah,
and it was very vertically integrated, having like influences in the clinics and being a distributor, and also having our operations in Spain. There was all these different things, and I also had some ideas for what I wanted to do in the marketing, and I'm glad I've been able to do them.
Well, let's talk a little bit about that, because I think a lot of people watching probably won't understand what it means exactly to be in marketing. And I know, because I work with you on these things, but there's a lot of hurdles to overcome and problems for essentially in terms of just doing any sort of marketing in the normal sense, because it's cannabis, because it's a controlled drug. Maybe you can talk to us a little bit about how we do that and some of the problems that we've been facing as an industry.
Yeah. So you can't really mention the word cannabis on most main social media platforms, especially Meta, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok especially, can't say anything about it. So it makes explaining something that's a legal medicine incredibly difficult, because you're having to use sort of silly words and inferences and censor something that shouldn't need to be censored.
Broccoli.
Yeah, broccoli. Emojis, but then there's things like TikTok, for example, people using like W33D for weed. Oh yeah. And then they started detecting that, so then you can't use that anymore, and it's just constant updating.
It's like an arms race.
Yeah.
Code breaking.
Yeah. So I try and stay on the sort of safe side, just because you can easily get your accounts banned and shut down randomly. There's lots and lots of different people that have had that happen.
And I know lots of the clinics in the space come to you for advice on how this is working currently. What are the ban words currently? What do they need to be looking out for? And
there's Twitter X used to be more open, but now is less and less so. I don't really see anything from the cannabis industry in my main sort of feed. I have to search for it. Which is ridiculous. LinkedIn is the only one that's really and YouTube, YouTube.
I'm always surprised by LinkedIn that LinkedIn is quite, doesn't seem to mind people talking about cannabis. And I suppose it's because it's almost exclusively professionals, isn't it?
Yeah, there's people in like psychedelics businesses and different like controlled things, but they have to be able to say what they're actually doing and not use silly words.
It's interesting, isn't it? I never really thought about it, but in essence, LinkedIn is actually has quite a grown-up way of dealing with social media moderation in that sense. But I guess then it doesn't come under the same slack other platforms have, because generally speaking, there's no users under 18.
Yeah, that does make sense. And people are sort of generally well behaved on there, sort of, not really. But it's normally, you have to say things that you'd be okay with not just your colleagues, but your wider circle seeing. But yeah, the day-to-day of working in marketing in cannabis is lots of challenges and figuring out how to reach lots of different target groups, because you can't really market cannabis the same way to everyone. There's so many opinions, and having to like actually see yourself in the marketing of a clinic can be a bit tricky. Finding the right one for you and the sort of right brands for you in the space.
Because you can do so much for so many different people, and therefore you have all very different types of people. And then on top of that, you have people's experience of cannabis. Their preconceptions or their views on it will be very different and often very binary. There's not many people who don't have an opinion one way or another. They're either very against it or very for it, or anxious about it, or very confident and pro cannabis. So you're basically creating different campaigns, aren't you, to try and get these different people. But let's talk about women's health a little bit as well. In fact, let's talk about what it is to be a cannabis patient working in this industry, but also a female cannabis patient.
It's a very male-dominated industry, more so than some other ones. But I think that sort of, I mean, it's partly because of people and organizations like Empower Her, bringing all of the women in the cannabis industry together. It's kind of been a lot easier in the past few years compared to at the start, because everyone knows each other. If you're at events, you know quite a lot of, at least the women there, all talk to each other and know each other. And it's gotten a lot better, but there definitely does need to be, there's, things like more women in leadership roles across all different cannabis companies, having more diversity in general in companies. And then, in terms of women's health, I personally use like CBD balms for my lower stomach, which are really, really useful. Not a prescription thing.
No, over the counter.
Over the counter. Sure. And those sort of things I think are really interesting. And I think that there'll be a lot more products in future, and clinics and brands that are geared towards women and built for women, and not just sort of as an afterthought, hopefully. Touch wood. But yeah, I think there's a way to go, but it's better than it used to be.
Yeah, I think that has been a theme of all of the discussions today, that essentially we are there, we know about the issues, we know about the inequality and the discrimination that women face in the workplace, we know about the discrimination and the stigma that patients face, but at least we have things like the Empower Network working towards making this better and improving things for patients. And I've heard from not just from you and also Kiki and Heidi, of course, but others downstairs talking about the importance of that network, and the importance of days like today, where everyone's able to come together and properly discuss this issue. And I guess that's the other side of things that I've seen, is the need for this conversation. So yeah, I'm really happy to have been a part of this, frankly. And I just want to thank you as well for all the work that you do in this space. No, honestly, because it makes all the difference. Couldn't do what we do in this company without you. So
thank you very much.
Yeah, I think it's important. I suppose to finish this off for us, maybe you could give us what you'd like to see happen, what you'd like to see things improving, and in more ways for the future.
Yeah, I think that I would love to see more diversity in general in the industry, not just in terms of women, but more patients in the industry, more disabled people, more people of colour, more LGBT people, and I think that will make the products and the brands, etc., more. It will. The people that it's for will be thought about whilst making the products, choosing the strains, thinking about things like that more, and the sort of what branding will speak to which people, and solving those kind of barriers to entry that a lot of people have, like the cost of it, not understanding the sign up process, all these really complex things, not explaining what a summary of care is, and just sort of improved education in general. But I think that the companies in the space are working on doing that, and so are all of the patients and influencers and everyone else that works in the industry. I think we're getting there.
We are getting there.
We're getting there. We're getting there. But yeah, if there's anything that you can do yourself as a person that's a patient, or whatever your relevance to the industry, if you can go to sleep at night happily thinking I'm doing enough and I've done my bit, then that's all you can do.
No, lovely. Really appreciate that. Yeah, and that's, I guess, what we've been doing here today, having these conversations, talking about how we can improve things, and yeah, it's getting there.
Yeah. But yeah, it's been a lovely day. And I can't wait to eat some more food, make a bit more content, and enjoy the sunny day.
Very nice. Well, appreciate you joining us, Joséphine. And that is our round off of the Women's Health event here with Plantz, sponsored by Auravia. We've had a lovely day, and we'll look forward to seeing you next time. Thanks.
Thank you.
Free audio post-production by alphonic.com.